Hi, I don't really want to disclose my name, so you can just call me White Wolf. That's what everyone else called me as a child, anyway. I live in a small country town in the south, with lots of woods and deer nearby. I love nature and taking care of animals, so I often visit the woods behind my house to put out corn for the deer and tuna fish for the many stray cats that hung around the neighborhood. I used to be afraid of being in the woods alone as a child, but as I grew older, I also grew out of that fear. I also often wear a white hoodie and a pair of black dress pants, which allows many of the neighbors in the area to identify me on sight. They are always nice and kind to me because I'm kind to their animals, and they don't really make a fuss if they catch me so-called trespassing on their property, because I often have good reason to do so. I'm also often accompanied by my large dog, which will be important for you to know later. One day, my neighbor came over to me, asking me what I was doing in a part of the woods I never went into before, and if I needed help taking care of a new animal. I was confused and explained to her that I actually wasn't in that neck of the woods, and that I was actually home in bed sick that day. My neighbor was confused, but she shrugged it off and told me to have a nice day. I forgot about that interaction until a week later, when I went out to walk with my favorite cat in the woods. It was late in the evening. Actually, it was probably night now that I think about it. I was wearing my usual white hoodie and black pants, and walking by my side was my favorite cat. We were having a great time playing together when suddenly she stopped playing and quickly turned her head to face a tall growth of vines and trees on the other side of the creek. I suspected that she had just seen a coyote or one of my deer, so I got her attention and we walked off to where I usually left food for the other cats. I put out the bowl of food deeper in the woods, and I laughed when my cat tried to nuzzle my hand as I set out the food. "Cut it out," I laughed. "You silly cat." After I put out the food, I turned around to walk back home, but then I saw what my cat had initially seen earlier, what caused her to freeze. There, standing in front of the vines and trees, was a man who looked exactly like me. He had a similar pale complexion, dark shoulder-length hair, and a white hoodie and dark pants. He had black boots on, like the pair I was wearing, and beside him stood a tall, dark Doberman dog. He was just like me in every way, except his white hoodie was ripped up and stained with fresh blood. I grabbed my cat like a football and ran. I ran up the hill where my house was, but the man was still behind me. I was going to cry when a miracle happened. My mom came home in her car, and she caught the man in her headlights. She blew her horn as loudly as she could, scaring the man back into the woods instantly. I thanked her and put away my cat in my shed that night. If I were thinking, I would have called the police as soon as I got back in the house, but I was too scared to think straight, and instead went right to sleep. Now I only go in the woods during the day, and I keep my phone on me, just in case my doppelganger is waiting to replace me again.
This happened just 4 days ago. My family and I were having lunch in the backyard. We have a big house because my grandparents, my parents, my aunts and uncles, and cousins live in one big house together. It was getting sunnier, and I didn't want my skin to become tanned. I was walking towards the backyard door as I wanted to grab a fitted sweater and a hat from my bedroom, when suddenly my 8-year-old cousin grabbed my arm, asking, "Can I come with you? I want to grab my mom's phone from the living room." And I nodded. 5 minutes later, I had changed my clothes and was waiting for my cousin when I heard her voice from the backyard. Maybe she didn't want to wait for me, I thought. I was about to go back outside when I heard a voice behind me. "Dear, don't you think you'll get too hot and sweat in what you're wearing?" I turned my head and saw my mom. "No, I'm fine as long as I don't get tanned," I said. Then I noticed something. She had different clothes on. My mom had been wearing pants and a t-shirt earlier, Now she was wearing a simple dress. I asked her, "Oh, why did you change your clothes?" She didn't answer me, but she turned around and walked toward the stairs. I found it weird at that time, and I glanced out the window, revealing my whole family in the backyard. My heart dropped when I saw my mom outside. If my mom was out there, then who was this woman here with me? Was she a doppelganger? Thoughts were running wildly through my head until the other mom spoke. "Come with me," she said. "Let me show you how to dress up properly." A weird smile plastered on her face. That's when I knew that she was not my real mom. She had no dimples. My real mom had dimples when she smiles. I acted normal so she wouldn't get suspicious. To be honest, I got really scared on the inside. I knew how to escape from this woman, though. Some say if you curse at a bad spirit, they will go away. It's a Filipino belief. So I yelled at her, "Shut up, woman! Don't bother me! I don't need your fashion opinion!" Then I stormed back outside. My face was blank, and then suddenly I started crying because I was super scared. I didn't know how I had managed to act brave in front of a bad spirit. I ran to my mom and hugged her. All of my family was asking what was going on, and I told them everything that had happened. After that day, everything went back to normal, I guess. No weird things happened again. Maybe the cursing had actually worked? I don't know, but my advice for you guys is if you ever see something that bothers or scares you, just act brave or be brave. Or maybe curse at them. It might just work.
This story happened a while ago when I was about 9 years old. It was an early morning, around dawn, when I suddenly woke up to see a tall, strange figure standing over me. It must have been watching me while I was asleep. It had a blank, pale face, but it still looked like a real person, and it looked exactly like my mom. The figure was wearing a blue bathrobe, something like my mom used to wear during the winter. So I figured my mom was maybe sleepwalking for the first time and came into my room during her dream. I was so startled, so I said to my mom, "What are you doing in my bedroom?" "I'm going to bed. You just scared me." But she didn't reply. The figure just kept staring at me. So I gave my mom another confused look and just went back to bed, thinking that if she's sleepwalking, she'll eventually leave my bedroom and go back to bed. My eyes were closed for a second before I turned around again, because I felt like someone was still standing behind me, but the figure ended up being gone. Panicking, I looked around my room because I didn't hear my bedroom door open or close, meaning it wasn't my mom, and whoever it wasn't sleepwalking. The person didn't even exist. A few days later, I told my mom and asked her again about why she was in my bedroom at 6 a.m. when I obviously was sleeping, but she had no idea what I was talking about. She said she never came into my bedroom and that she had never sleepwalked in her entire life. So I told her about this strange figure that was watching me while I slept and dressed in her bathrobe, and then it disappeared after I acknowledged its presence. She didn't really think anything of it. She just laughed it off and blamed it on my eyes must be getting tired. My mom always insisted that our home wasn't haunted or built on top of a historical ground. She's really spiritual, like into tarot card readings and psychics and manifestations. So she must not have wanted to give in to the evil side. But that experience never left me. And my mom has now told me that I used to sit on our staircase and have conversations with the little boy and girl as a child. I've heard many stories about people supposedly talking to their family members, but they're really communicating with a demon in disguise. And I fully believe that the same thing happened to me that night.